The worst and cruelest parents of classic Hollywood. Behind the silver glow of Hollywood's golden era lived a truth no spotlight could erase. While the world applauded flawless smiles and perfect lives, children were learning fear behind locked doors. For every red carpet triumph, there was a small voice crying in the dark, asking a question that still echoes through history. Why wasn't I enough? Hollywood sold dreams to millions, but inside its most famous homes, childhood was not a memory to treasure. It was something to endure. This is the hidden history of fame. The parents the cameras never saw, and the children who paid the price. Number 1. Joan Crawford. In the 1940s, Joan Crawford was the embodiment of Hollywood perfection. Immaculate, poised, ruthlessly driven. She was everything the studios wanted America to admire. But inside her Beverly Hills mansion, her daughter Christina lived a very different reality. There were no gentle goodnights, no bedtime kisses, only rigid rules, suffocating control, and explosive rage. A misplaced item, a wrinkle in a dress, even a wire hanger could trigger terror. Christina later wrote that her childhood felt like a performance in fear. Crawford was obsessed with obedience and image. When the cameras shut off, she became a tyrant, forcing her children to scrub floors in formal gowns, punishing them for the smallest mistakes, and turning motherhood into a stage for her own frustrations. When Mommy Dearest was released, audiences were shocked, not just by its brutality but by what it revealed. The most glamorous mother in Hollywood had been her child's worst nightmare. Crawford denied everything until her death. Her legacy remained polished, but her children carried the truth long after the applause faded. Number 2. Bing Crosby. To the world, Bing Crosby was warmth itself, the comforting voice of Christmas, a symbol of calm during war and depression. At home, his sons described something colder. Gary Crosby, the eldest, revealed that behind the gentle smile lived a man who enforced respect with belts and fists. Discipline ruled their home. Tears were weakness. Emotion was forbidden. Gary once said his father was a tyrant with a heart of ice. The cruelty left lasting damage. 2 of Bing Crosby's sons later took their own lives. The man who brought joy to millions left devastation in his own home. Proof that fame cannot teach tenderness. Number 3. Henry Fonda. Henry Fonda's face became the symbol of the noble American hero. Stoic, moral, calm. But to his children, Jane and Peter, he was emotionally unreachable. Jane Fonda once said her father could speak for hours about politics or art, but never once asked how she felt. She spent her childhood performing for his approval, hoping excellence would unlock his affection. It never did. Only near the end of his life did the emotional frost begin to thaw. But decades of silence had already left wounds no applause could heal. Fonda's tragedy wasn't cruelty. It was absence, a quiet neglect that froze his children out of his heart. Number 4. Ethel Gum, the mother who sold the dream. Before Judy Garland became a legend, she was little Frances Gum, a child with a powerful voice and a mother who saw opportunity. Ethel Gum pushed Judy relentlessly. Sick, exhausted, or crying, it didn't matter. Performance came first. Pills kept her awake. Other pills forced her to sleep. By age 13, Judy was already dependent on amphetamines, approved by both the studio and her mother. Ethel didn't see a child. She saw a product. Years later, Judy said bitterly, "My mother only loved me when I was working." Few sentences in Hollywood history cut deeper. Number 5. Ryan O'Neal. In the 1970s, Ryan O'Neal was Hollywood's golden boy, handsome, magnetic, adored. At home, his daughter Tatum experienced something else entirely. After winning an Oscar at age 10, she expected pride. Instead, she became competition. He mocked her, belittled her, and treated her success as a threat. Tatum later said her father didn't know how to love. They attempted reconciliation later in life, but decades of pain stood between them. A reminder that charm and cruelty can exist in the same smile. Number 6. Lana Turner. Lana Turner's mother, Mildred, saw fame as salvation during the Great Depression. When Lana's beauty drew attention, Mildred pushed her into Hollywood. Not to protect her, but to escape poverty herself. At 16, Lana was escorted into adult parties, exposed to danger far beyond her years. Her mother watched proudly, blind to the cost. Years later, Lana said she never had a childhood, only a career. When scandals and heartbreak followed her, she admitted quietly, "I never learned what love really looked like." Number 7. Loretta Young and Clark Gable. This is one of Hollywood's darkest stories. Not because of violence, but because of silence. In 1935, Loretta Young was one of Hollywood's most virtuous stars. Clark Gable was its king. During the filming of The Call of the Wild, Loretta became pregnant by Gable. Both were married to other people. In the moral code of classic Hollywood, such a scandal was unthinkable. So the studios acted. Loretta disappeared from public view for months. When she returned, she later adopted a baby girl, her own biological child, and raised her as if she were unrelated. The lie was total. Friends, press, and even the child herself were kept in the dark. That child was Judy Lewis. Judy grew up sensing something was wrong. She noticed her resemblance to Clark Gable. She felt her mother's emotional distance. Family conversations stopped when she entered the room. The truth hovered over her life like a ghost no one would name. She didn't learn who her real parents were until she was an adult. "My whole life," Judy later said, "I was the secret that shouldn't have existed." Hollywood had decided her existence was a liability, something to erase for the sake of careers. Clark Gable never publicly acknowledged her. Loretta Young, bound by fear, faith, and studio pressure, never told her the truth directly. Judy grew up loved, but never fully claimed. Protected, but never acknowledged. Hollywood had turned a child's birth into a problem to be hidden, and the cost was a lifetime of confusion and grief. Number 8. Judy Garland. Judy Garland swore she would never become her mother. As a child, she had been controlled, medicated, and pushed beyond her limits. Pills kept her thin. Pills kept her awake. Pills forced her to sleep. Childhood was something she lost before she understood what it was. When Judy became a mother herself, she loved her children fiercely. But love alone was not enough to undo years of damage. By the time Liza Minnelli was born, Judy was already drowning in addiction, exhaustion, financial stress, and a desperate need for affection. She was warm, funny, magnetic, and deeply affectionate. And then, suddenly, she wasn't. Liza Minnelli later described life with her mother in heartbreaking terms. When she was up, it was heaven. When she was down, the whole house went dark. Judy didn't intend to frighten her children, but unpredictability became their reality. Her moods shifted. Her addictions controlled the atmosphere of the home. Her vulnerability became both her beauty and her danger. She wasn't cruel by nature. She was repeating pain she had never healed. Judy Garland is a reminder that not all harmful parents are monsters. Some are victims first, people so damaged by the system that they pass the wounds forward without meaning to. Her children loved her. They also survived her. Number 9. Tippi Hedren. Tippi Hedren was the embodiment of elegance. Hitchcock's icy muse. Controlled, graceful, untouchable. Behind that flawless image was a woman still grieving a career that never reached its full promise, and a daughter who would carry that weight. Tippi wanted Melanie Griffith to succeed. But more than that, she wanted control. She wanted her daughter to fulfill the dream she felt had been stolen from her. Success was expected. Obedience was required. When Melanie rebelled, the relationship turned tense, then toxic. By the age of 14, Melanie was already immersed in adult Hollywood environments, parties, relationships, and risks far beyond her years. Tippi allowed her daughter to live with adult men, including Don Johnson, decisions that later shocked the public. Tippi insisted she was protecting her daughter. But protection without boundaries is not protection at all. Melanie grew up too fast. Love came wrapped in chaos, instability, and confusion. She learned desire before safety, independence before care. Years later, Melanie struggled openly with addiction and emotional turmoil, patterns all too familiar in Hollywood families shaped by ambition instead of nurture. Tippi Hedren didn't intend to harm her daughter. But intention doesn't erase impact. Once again, fame consumed the family bond, and a broken dream was passed down instead of healed. Number 10. Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney spent his entire life performing. From the time he was a small boy dancing on vaudeville stages, he learned one lesson early: the show must go on. By the time he reached adulthood, that lesson had hardened into identity. Mickey Rooney didn't just work in front of cameras. He lived there. To the public, he was tireless, infectious, America's eternal entertainer. To his children, he was almost never present. Rooney had 9 children across 8 marriages, yet stability never followed him home. Between film sets, stage tours, financial scandals, and a relentless hunger for attention, there was little room left for fatherhood. His children didn't remember bedtime stories or long conversations. They remembered absence. One of his daughters, Kelly Rooney, later said something devastating in its simplicity. "My father loved the world, but he didn't love us." That sentence wasn't spoken in anger. It was spoken in resignation. Rooney didn't abuse his children in the way some Hollywood parents did. His damage came through neglect, a quieter cruelty that leaves no bruises, only emptiness. He drifted in and out of their lives like a guest star, making promises he couldn't keep, offering charm instead of consistency. As he aged, Rooney spoke publicly about being financially exploited by others. But his children rarely spoke of exploitation, only abandonment. Fame had consumed him so completely that there was nothing left when the cameras turned off. In the end, Mickey Rooney left behind hundreds of films, countless awards, and a legacy etched into Hollywood history. But to many of his children, he remained a man they never truly knew, a father who belonged to everyone and to no one at all.